Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse, where we always have such sights to show you. You can always find us, of course, on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Working on some new content for YouTube. I think it's going to blow your mind. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G, and I'm actually going to be doing a solo episode this week around. I wasn't able to get a co-host this time, but that's okay. As to quote Queen, the show must go on. Very excited for this week. A lot of good news to go over, and had a pretty interesting week. So we'll kind of see how this thing goes. At this moment, I'm actually going to just jump right in, right? And go into my week. The sound effects are always there. Like Nationwide, they're on your side, but I don't have any product placement with them, so that's a freebie. That one's free, Nationwide. You can just give me free car insurance for life, and let's just call it even. For this week, I pretty much kept things a little the same. I watched a couple of movies, played some video games. It went pretty well. I'm still playing Injustice 2. I'm getting a bit more into Black Manta. He's a really fun character, a little difficult to master, but those are always the fun ones, the ones that take a little bit longer to get a hold of. He has some really good normals. His ultimate is pretty good, or his super move, as it were, is pretty good. And he's kind of an anti-keep-away character, which I like, because Injustice is the type of game where it's filled with keep-away characters, and to have someone who is built to negate that is just what the doctor ordered. So I'm really having fun playing that game. Watched this crazy movie over the weekend called Mother with Darren Aronofsky, Javier Bardem, and Jennifer, I always forget her name. She is from The Hunger Games and from the X-Men films. Her name escapes me at the moment, but it'll come around. Oh, do I recommend this movie? No. I do not recommend this movie because it's very polarizing. It's not a fun time. It's not a fun time at the movie theater. It kind of reminds me of the first time I saw Requiem for a Dream. If anyone know, if you haven't seen that movie, I wouldn't recommend that either, unless you just want the biggest bummer of your night. But who's to say that all movies need to be a good time, right? Sometimes it just wants to teach you something. I'm not even going to go into what Mother is about, because it's just so polarizing. It's the type of film where either you're going to understand it or hate it. You're not going to love it. You're not going to love it. You're either going to understand it or hate it. And where did I fall on that type of spectrum? A little bit of more 70-30 understand it, because I see what it wants to do. But honestly, I would have approached it a bit differently. But who's to tell Darren Aronofsky how to make a film? You know, he wants to make what he wants to make and give the commentary that he wants to give. So, hey man, do you? I don't know if you're going to make a lot of money with this one, but that's not what it's always about, right? It's all about the artwork. Jennifer, dang it, I can't remember her name. Jennifer What's-Her-Face did a really good job. Actually, this was some of her best acting I've seen from the little sample slice of the stuff I've seen her in. She really did well. Javier Bardem was kind of stilted, but I could see him trying. And Michelle Pfeiffer's in this film too, which is kind of the reason why I wanted to go see it, because you don't see a lot of her lately. I saw her in this one movie, I think it was called The Master of Lies or something like that, with Robert De Niro. Couldn't remember the name, where he was playing that one businessman who pretty much blackmailed all these multi-million-dollar companies. It was a pretty good movie, but Michelle Pfeiffer kills it in this film. Other than this movie, other things I've did was kind of just been working on the podcast, really just trying to get new hardware, lock in more features, lock in more segments that I want to do, and think of new ways to make it grow, because I've fallen in love with this thing, and I kind of want to do it until I'm old and gray now. And I think that's kind of where my week went. Wasn't a lot, but it was just heavy. It was just very heavy week, Mother alone just kind of just this big giant stake in my in my gut, just a very deep movie. Played Played me some Injustice. Played some more PT. We talked about that before on the podcast. The playable trailer by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, because they're just like jumping back into that. It's like video games to me are kind of like a digital memory. You know what I mean? It's something that you can just relive that experience whenever you want to. That's why I never trade in my games, because I may want to go back and play it. I always go back and play Fallout 3. I always go back to play Singularity, Max Payne 3. I play the Uncharted sometimes just to relive that memory. And it's something that is always there, and you always don't remember it exactly the way it is. And it's something that you can always go back to. So never trading your games is a jip. Just keep your game. You'll get more out of it keeping it than going through GameStop. Real talk intensified. The other movies I watched this week, just watched some more Burn Notice, because I'm extremely addicted to that show, to the point where I like fall asleep while watching it. It's the best show ever. I don't care what anyone says. And this week was pretty solid week. So at this time, I really wanted to go into the news. The news is great. It gives you stakes. It may take you on the date, but don't be late. It's the news. Bars. All right, let's go into the news. A lot of things happened this week, and a lot of interesting things. Speaking of Injustice, we got the Raiden trailer, and I would definitely recommend checking that out if you like the game. It's one of the coolest Mortal Kombat moments I've ever seen in a video game. I'm not going to give it away, but it's Raiden's representing, and it actually showed off Black Lightning as his alternate skin, which I was swearing up and down, and I have to eat a little bit of crow on this. I was swearing up and down it was going to be Static Shock. I was almost certain that they were going to make Static Shock a palette swap for Raiden in this game, but it made me think, like, Static Shock's one of those characters that has yet to be in one of these games, but is a crowd favorite. He's been asked for in a video game since before Injustice. So I got the feeling after getting this announcement that they're going to want to put him in they want to showcase him a bit more. So I'm guessing they're holding him for Injustice 3. That eventually will come down the pipe, because this game has been very successful. So I can see where that's coming from. And for some reason, Black Lightning looks just like Gucci Mane. I don't know why. It looks just like him. I don't care what anyone says. If you see the picture, you'll see what I'm talking about. Gucci. All right. Let's move on. There's this funny thing that's recently come out with the Tomb Raider poster for the new Tomb Raider film. That's starring Alicia Vikander. She's a new young actress who's going to be playing the titular Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, in a new film based off the recent Xbox 360 games, which was fun. I have the Tomb Raider game on Xbox 360. Is it my favorite Tomb Raider game? Yeah, because I didn't really play a lot of Tomb Raider when I was a kid. But did the game have a really good storyline and gameplay? Yeah, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. But the poster is funny because the Photoshop's bad. So her neck literally looks like a question mark. And it's just a bad Photoshop. And supposedly the trailer was supposed to drop today. I'm not going to say what day that is because it timestamps this episode, which I'm not going to do. But from the little glimpse of the trailer, it looked like the game. Okay. It's fine. Will I see it? Maybe. I don't know. Have to be a pretty kick-ass trailer. We'll see how it goes. Speaking of seeing how things go, the full trailer for this new, I want to say Amazon Prime show called Lore is coming on. This is very interesting to me. It's a TV show based on a podcast that I've been listening to recently because I've kind of got the word based on this news. And what Lore is a podcast that gives a description and a detailed breakdown of quote unquote folklore across the world, which is kind of like, the Gypsy Devil or, saying Bloody Mary in the mirror, stuff like that. Haunted mansions and things like that. It's extremely interesting to listen to, especially when your brain is kind of numbing at work. And they're actually going to be doing, I think, a stop motion animation show based on this podcast, which is awesome. It kind of gives us hope for all us podcasters that one day your show will be picked up by a major studio. I would particularly want my show, Masters of the Nerdiverse, to be picked up by the Animal Planet. Yeah, I think we fit best there. I would have said G4, but they killed G4 for money. We don't talk about that anymore. But definitely check out the Lore podcast. It's very interesting. I've only been listening to the first 3 episodes, and I've kind of caught up on those 3, and they keep you pretty enthralled. And then you kind of go back on the internet and just to fact check what they're talking about to see if there's any kind of real world precedence to the story that's being told, and it's there. They're very thorough, so I definitely recommend the Lore podcast, and check out the Lore trailer. Looks very, very interesting. Very, very good. Speaking of things that are good, things that are great, I have to bring back the return of the Queen. And I'm not talking about Beyonce. I'm not talking about the Queen Bee. All respect to her, because I don't want the Beehive coming after me. The return of the Phoenix. Original Jean Grey is coming back to Marvel Comics, which gives me hope that Marvel may use the X-Men more than cannon fodder like they've used them for the last 5 years. Jean Grey is my favorite X-Man. I used to be Cyclops, but then I became an adult, and it became Jean Grey. She's the coolest. I like her stance. I like everything about her. She's just so cool. And I like her better without the Phoenix, because the Phoenix kind of is an OP boost for her that she didn't need. And I'm really excited to see how they bring this Jean Grey back and what they're going to do with the current time traveling Jean Grey they have in now. So we'll have to see about that. So very excited that they're bringing my girl back. She's awesome. Read the Dark Phoenix Saga, read the Phoenix Saga to get more information on Jean Grey, because X-Men aren't really a big thing in Marvel Comics anymore. Them and the Fantastic Four, which breaks my damn heart every time I think about it. So definitely check that out. In other news, we actually have an update on Dragon Ball Z Fighters. This is the Dragon Ball Z fighting game made by Arc System Works. That's coming out now. They've actually given it a date in February is when it's going to be dropping. So, as a surprise to no one, in news to nothing, they've announced Yamcha and Tien as playable characters, which is meh. Why not? They're part of the Z team. Throw them on there. No, you can add anyone to this game and it's going to look freaking amazing. You can add any character. But the kicker with this is that they're actually making a new character. Akira Toriyama, the creator of the Dragon Ball franchise, is designing a new Android 21. And she looks very interesting. She has like a kind of like a librarian look to her. Like a mod librarian, like from the 70s. She has very big hair. She has very big Peggy Bundy hair with horn rim glasses. We'll see what she does. It seems like they're making an original story for the Dragon Ball Z Fighter game, which, if it's anything as good as the movies are, I'm hyped for it. I can't be more hyped about this video game. And in the last bit of news, I really wanted to take a second to go over the 30th anniversary of Hellraiser. This is the 30th anniversary that this film came out. A little bit of background. This film was directed by Clive Barker. He also directed such films as Rawhead Rex, which is always a Masters of the Nerdiverse staple. I will fight you in the streets over Rawhead Rex. And also Lord of Illusions, which is another good movie that was directed by Clive Barker. Now, Hellraiser, which is also known as The Hellbound Heart, is a story is more of a love story than it is a horror film. It's a story about a new married couple that moves into a home, and the wife has a dark secret, and this dark secret manifests itself in the most gruesome ways possible and pretty much tears this family apart. Now, it's been 30 years since this film has come out, and it holds a very special place in my heart. I opened up every podcast episode with, "We have such sights to show you." It's a line from the film, and it's really just a kind of a one sentence pitch of what I want my podcast to be. I want this show to educate. I want this show to bring awareness to, and I want this show to blow your mind. Like things that we talk about, people that we bring onto the show. I want it to be something different. I want it to be something genuine. And to go back to Hellraiser, Hellraiser is one of the very first horror movies I've seen as a child. And I quote, "I was a child when I saw this film." And It's not for children. It's barely for adults. But it also kind of grounded me in a sense of wonder, because when I was a kid, the horror in the gore, in the nudity never really clung to me. It was the technical things. It was the makeup design. It was the character design. It was the set pieces. The whole time I was just wondering how they do that as a kid. And it fascinated me. So seeing films like The Exorcist, Hellraiser, House, Rawhead Rex, these are just movies that I watched as a kid and just really was fascinated by the art of it, the spectacle of it, and just the flat out, how did you do that? John Carpenter's The Thing, also another movie that just sticks in my brain when I was a child. And Hellraiser is one of those films that I just adore. I watch it almost every 2 months. I just watch at least one of their films, and there's been like 9 films since this movie has come out, from Hellraiser to Hellbound to Hell on Earth, to Bloodlines, to Deader, to Inferno. There's a ton of different Hellraiser films that are a little different, each one. They're not all good. I'll be the first to say they're not all good. But there are some that are actually very good that are not part of the core trilogy. Like Inferno, which is more of a whodunit version of the Hellraiser films. The Hellraiser, I would say, intellectual property. And I remember seeing the Cenobites for the first time, which is the main hero / villains of the film, because they're angels to some, demons to others. So seeing those and just not drawing them, because I wasn't that good at the time, but just wrapping my brain around it. Pinhead and the female Cenobite and the Chatterer and Butterball, and just seeing those designs and thinking, this is crazy. Like, it never scared me. Like, and that's another thing. It's like, and I was never afraid of these characters. I was just fascinated. Like, wow. Like, the way a little kid meets Michael Jordan in real life is the way I would do it if I just saw like Pinhead in real life. My mouth would be aghast, and watching it as an adult, which is always fun, going back and watching these films as an adult and going back and kind of understanding the subtext, actually understanding the story. It's really a grimy story just about betrayal and passion and how far are you willing to go to reach the next stages of pleasure and pain, of fidelity and infidelity. And I think Clive was really trying to say something a bit deeper than, ooh, boo, spooky monster house, which those films eventually turned into. So, and I'm a huge Clive Barker fan since then. I've actually have a cool Pinhead poster in my room. And if I was to ever get any creature tattooed onto my body, it would probably be Pinhead, because he's just the coolest, suavest kind of like James Bond horror monster that's ever existed. So kudos to, that entire team. Kudos to that entire franchise. It holds a special place in my strange, weird nerdiverse heart. And I wouldn't be Mike G without Hellraiser, honestly. And that's pretty much what I want to say about that. And that's pretty much the news. Very good news week. I had a chance to vent about my love for Hellraiser, and I can honestly keep going, but I don't want to bore you guys with my Hellraiser rhetoric. And we're going to be going into other films that I love, that I have a deep understanding and admiration for. But those are for a different time. And now I'm going to go into the questions and answers for this week. The questions, you can always send those to mastersofthenerdiversecast@gmail.com. I repeat, for those who actually open the Lament configuration, experiencing infinite pleasure or pain, it is mastersofthenerdiversecast@gmail.com. Please always leave me a question. I will answer anything. Well, no, not anything. Some things I'll be like, nah. But ask me a question. So I only have one question this week. And the question was, what is my favorite video game? Which is A tough question, because really, I've been blessed enough to play video games since I was a little kid. From Nintendo to my PS4 I'm staring at right now. And with different stages in life come different favorite video games. When I was a little Mikey Short Pants, my favorite video game at the time was Street Fighter II on the Super Nintendo. I loved that game. Me and my dad would play it all the time. Have some of my fondest memories playing that with me and my cousins. When I became a little bit older, became a teenager, I loved Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Top 3 video games of all time, I would say. It's one of the first games I ever 100%ed as a kid. So I love that fact that I can still hold that. And outside of that, later in my younger, like my college years, my high school years, my favorite games went from Tekken 3, specifically Soul Calibur 2. And the meatiest game I would say was my favorite at that time was Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is a huge game for me. I love the Fallout series. I've been following it ever since. Fallout 3 is one of those games that really opened me up to not MMORPGs, I guess, where you just walk around and put on some good music and go on an adventure and just run into something and open up a random quest or fight a giant monster you're not leveled up for. If you haven't played any of the Fallout series, it's an acquired taste because a lot of people need instant action all the time. And Fallout's not that cup of tea. Fallout is where you put on some good music and you go explore the land, you look for some items and a quest will fall on your lap. And next thing you know, you're on the heels of an adventure. And it always fascinated me as a young man. And now as an adult, my favorite game right now as an adult, I would say, is The Witcher 3. And a lot of people don't like The Witcher 3 because they say that the gameplay is a little stilted, but the writing and the presentation and the vastness of it reminds me so much of Fallout 3, but it has better graphics and it's in third person and you have to go on armor hunts and weapon hunts, and it's just so good. It's like a fine wine, this game. It just, the more you play it, the better it gets. So I definitely recommend all the games that I've listed as my favorite video games, I would say, because it's extremely hard to name one. Gun to my head, if I had to name one video game, it's going to be Fallout 3. If I had to say favorite video game of all time, Fallout 3. I love that game. I love it. I still play it to this day. I love fighting games. That's my favorite genre. But my favorite game, single entity game, is Fallout 3. I can just play it for hours. I can play it from sun up to sundown. It's my favorite thing of all time. Cool. So I'm really looking forward to this week. I have to kind of double back, and I want to talk about something before I close out this podcast, because I've had a bit of a change of heart about something. And what it is the game Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And I've been harking about this game since I've been starting this podcast, since I've done this podcast. And harking about the character selection, harking about Capcom itself, harking about the underpolished virtue of this game. And all those feelings are still true. Don't get me wrong. This is not a pretty game. But I thought about it and I sat down and what really jarred me is I was on Facebook or whatever, and I just saw so many people just being so salty for nothing about this game. Like, no X-Men or I don't play, or man, the roster sucks, or the graphics are bad. You know what I'm saying? But when has that ever stopped it from being a good fighting game? You know what I mean? And that's where it kind of changed my heart, because I've been seeing people play this game, and boy, does the game look fun. The game just looks like a lot of fun. It doesn't play like any other Marvel vs. Capcom game I've seen before. Like, the way that they've approached the gameplay, the core of it is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's not the prettiest car. It doesn't have a Lamborghini. It's not a Lamborghini, but the engine will get you where you need to go. The engine looks legit. The engine sounds legit. And I need to play it, is the thing. I need to understand. And I say that a lot on this podcast. I need to understand. I want to get good with it. So when characters I do like come down the pipe, I will already be comfortable with the fighting engine of this game. And I kind of had a change of heart. I mean, I was so down on this game, but now from seeing it in action and seeing it in movement and seeing people play it and see people be good at it, I want to jump in. I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, I'm not going to play it until Wolverine shows up. And then like a year later when everybody's awesome, I jump online and get bodied. Not this master of the Nerdiverse. I want to be there on the ground level. I want to be able to learn this stuff with everybody and have a fun time. I will find characters to play. I will figure it out. I will look past the graphics. Because mind you, I'm going to be real with you. Good graphics don't make a good game. Axe the Order, 1886. Good graphics don't make a game. Good gameplay makes a game. And that's real talk. Like, I mean, Sonic Mania is not going to look as good as, let's say, what's the Sonic 4, but does it play fun? Yeah. I mean, Shovel Knight, which is a like an 8-bit game, is a hell of a lot more fun than, let's say, Mario, than I would say Mario, Sunshine, you know what I mean? So, we know the game doesn't look that great. The character selection is a little weak. I still need to understand. I need to play it. I need to get on its wavelength because it looks like a ball. It looks like so much fun. And I'm not going to miss that and just be because I'm stubborn or because my character isn't in the game. Forget that. That's not what fighting games are about to me. It's about learning the system. It's about having fun. So I'm just going to take that as it is right there. So I'm looking forward to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I'm really looking forward to finally seeing it. I just haven't had a chance to go see it. I'm hearing such good things about it. And I really want to check this film out because I'm just hearing great things and I want to see it. Probably going to sneak off and see it on Friday after work, something like that. And so I can talk about it on the next show. Things that are coming up for the podcast. I'm still working on MOTN reviews. I have a lot of people lined up. This is going to be a new feature on the podcast where I will do a film review with people. May it be friends, may it be family, may it be associates, may it be other people in the industry, if I'm so lucky, that want to review their favorite film. So I have a friend who loves Back to the Future. So we're going to review Back to the Future. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much my idea and my next segment for this podcast, because I want people to talk about things they're passionate about. You know what I mean? Not the latest movie that came out over the weekend, but the film they grew up loving. Like my love for Hellraiser is someone else's love for, you know, 3 Men and a Baby or Hook or what have you. So I think that'll be a good, different change of pace. So as always, you can find me on Twitter at mnerdiverse. That is M Nerdiverse spelled out. You can always find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. Thank you for spending this time with me and always asking you to go that one step beyond.